It's amazing sometimes how a picture makes something look better than it is. Now the reason I couldn't get this dynamotor off the unit was it's the shock absorbers are roached. Look at this. They're supposed to be mounted in rubber, and it's gone. The rubber has evaporated into the air. And notice the dirt. This thing's been in a garage or in a storage area. That amount of dirt, if there's an open door to the outside, that's 50 years worth of dirt, easily. Okay, and the dynamotor isn't real bad. It doesn't spin up. There's all kinds of marks around these brushes, like someone's played with it. And the other thing too is, you say, well, that's pretty dirty. That could be cleaned up. I can put some RTV in here and just get these so they're shock absorbers again. This part to get out, I think I have to take a ring on the opposite side. But let me show you what it looks like underneath. This is probably the worst thing that could happen. Is notice that yellow hue, and then the insides of this capacitor have shot out. They've got on the back plate, so there's a lot of scrubbing and cleaning. But this unit is just a parts unit. That's what I bought it for, and unfortunately, it's not in as good a shape as it looked on the pictures. Okay, I don't care how many years you work on something, buying something on the internet or anywhere with just some pictures. Now, I've done some work on this, taking it apart. I got the Bodge transformer unit off, and up in the front end is out now. I want to show you this capacitor. This is the front end tuning capacitor. Now, if you go look at my transmitter, this is a split gear. So is this. I believe this one's a split gear over here. Very well made tuning capacitor. It's really spiffy. Okay. Let me get this a better look. Yeah, usually you won't see this because it's inside of this housing. Okay, so you won't see that in the pictures. Sometimes you see these for sale on eBay. That's all the person could salvage out of the chassis after they bought it. And that's what I'm telling you. I've some pretty good experience with command radios now. And the advice I would say to you, if you're thinking about getting into, is don't go too cheap on the price of the unit. And you can get a really good one for 40 bucks on eBay sometimes. The person selling it really doesn't know what they have. Anytime you get it from a dealer, this is a dealer, it's some type of museum. Now, let me my camera get adjusted here. Okay, these are little pins for plug-ins for that coil on the opposite side, that coil array. And the tuning cap sits in here and the wires go down to it. I suggest cutting the wires off next to these pins, getting your unit out. Don't forget the antenna connection. It's going to be up in here. You've got to need a little open end wrench to get it out. And then the tuning unit comes up. And here's the lug. Oh, let's get the light on this just right. All right, here's the lug right here that goes to for the antenna. And you got to disconnect that, and then it comes out. And then you go back and unsolder with a solder sucker, and I suggest using one of these picks to manipulate the piece of wire that's wrapped around. See, they put the wire through this little terminal and bend it over and then solder. It's very hard to get it apart. And I've been cleaning this chassis up. These bolts will come out one at a time. They hold a terminal board on the back, and then you can clean underneath it. And I always clean these up with a brass brush, a brass toothbrush. I clean these bolts up and then put them back in. So this will all look nice. And this is a standoff for the dynamotor. It's been bent over. The guy bent it over to get it out of the way of his transformer. And we got a few extra holes, no big deal. Oh, and the other shocking thing is there is a BFO on the AM broadcast. So overseas, they must have been using our frequencies for the United States between the airplanes. They might have used that frequency band, and because it had a BFO, and that's for copy and code. And then you could use this unit for Q5er if it worked, brand new. You just throw it in there next to the other one, run a wire over, and the IF can is like 239, some weird number, kilohertz, and that's pretty narrow. Yeah, 239 kilohertz. So the UHF, the long wave one is 85 kilocycles, which is better. That's the one that everybody uses for a Q5er. Now a Q5er makes your old radio more narrow for CW. See, the old tube radios are pretty wide. So by taking the IF signal out of a shortwave radio and running it into a Q5er rig, the Q5er rig has more narrow IF. And you bring the signal over, it becomes a dual conversion radio when you do it. And in some cases, if you add a tube, it's triple conversion. So that's what the guys were doing. They were taking two cheap radios and making a better one for CW. And that's what you see, all these modifications. But unfortunately, what they were doing was they were following a magazine article, and it has you gut everything. It has you take out the, I have one floating around here somewhere. This is the choke for the dynamotor. Okay, it would be nice to have that in there, take out some of the AC hum, but they got this. They got, I don't have it, it's down on the floor now. They got the BFO unit on the radio, and then they take out the, I told you before, the audio output transformer, and then they basically put everything back. And that one unit that I was showing you yesterday, the guy was trying to get the BFO working again. He must have followed the wrong article, and he basically gaffed it all up, and that's why he didn't finish it. That's sitting around here. Here is what he's going to try to use for a BFO transformer, because he had gutted out the BFO transformer, and then later on realized he wanted to use the receiver as a Q5er. But I can get the radio to work AM broadcasts, but I can't get BFO. I have two units, and both the BFO units are missing, and that's what you get on eBay. And they don't give you enough pictures. See, if you get the right picture of this side, see this pattern. When you see four empty holes and a hole in the center, that's where the BFO mounts. And if you get to see that picture, you know your BFO's missing. And you can't. I have a BFO, but it's for a different radio. It's for a different IF, so it's a different frequency. Okay, so that's what you run into. These IF cans are not 455. Every once in a while, if you read the different groups, someone will say, "Oh, you just get any 455 IFs." None of these are 455. Read the manuals for these radios. Get really into it. And the radio, I consider, if you get one in good shape and get it working, it's really cool. Now here's my radio over here that I use. Okay, it sits over there. And I have my power supply. Here's my power supply. And all I have to do is just set it on the top. And it's in there. That's it. Now that radio will work. Okay? And I enjoy this. This is an 80 meter. It's 3 to 6 megacycles, which covers 80 meters. And you can get shortwave stations on it. The one out of Okeechobee, Florida. You can get Cuba on it. It's so nice. I tune around. There's other ones that. There's this religious guy, the guy that screams, but there's also this one that has animal noises. There's some really strange stuff on the internet because they're trying to find their audience, I guess. But you'll be tuning around, and then I go look it up on my computer to see what the hell I'm listening to. And you can also listen to the 80 meter hams at night, both single sideband and AM ham. And I listen to them some nights, but you know, They're the same age as I am, and they're into talking about the operations, who has died, and I wanted, usually when I go up on shortwave, I'm getting away from the healthcare commercial now for Medicare with J.J. Walker and what's his name? William Shatner is doing it. Chelsea Grammer's doing it. There's somebody else. Oh, Joe Namath. Sometimes they run the Joe Namath one and the J.J. Walker ones in a row, and I shut it off. No matter how good the program is that I'm watching, I can't take the commercial, and that's why I like working on a challenge like this. Okay, and this is really junk that I bought. You know, $60 plus 20 shipping worth of garbage. Okay, and little by little, I work on it, clean it up, restore it. I know how it works, but I can get this to the point where it works, but there won't be a BFO. I don't need a BFO. You know, I can use the if I was to go for a Q5er, I have the long wave one, and if you look at my other video, I showed you where I added a tube. I can put a tube in this one. I'll take the lid off, plug in the tube, and it's got. I have a module that outputs. It wasn't 455 I was playing. I think it was 500 megacycles. Yeah, something like that. I figured out how to do it, and that's a triple conversion receiver tube. But I did use a modern tube in it compared to these things. But I love these bad babies. You know, metal tubes. This stuff was made before I was born, and it's sad the way they got treated. You know, and then in this case, these got donated to a museum, and then the museum must be clearing out or cleaning out their back room. Let's just say the museum has 12 members or something like that, and they're starting to raise money by selling this crap off. And then the people that donate this stuff, in their head, it's like brand new. I guess it's really. And I had a guy I used to tell you about him. He had a whole cellar full of this crap, and it got water damaged. He had a car battery explode and go all over the stuff. He charged the battery backwards. He was an engineer, and whenever he needed something fixed, he gave it to me to repair. And he always had a big story about it. It was always something he put in backwards. It's a nightmare, okay? I have these nightmares in my head because I got involved with people, and they're always looking for the cheapest person or getting it done for free. And I like working on something every day. And this is a challenge. It's not a real bad challenge. The challenge is coming down to the fact that the unit that should be the parts unit for this is roached. And then having the BFO coils missing. That's sad, because then I can't really build this back to its former glory. I can get it to where it receives AM broadcast stations, but it won't have the BFO in it. I just, you know, this is a series I'm doing as I go along. I'll show you what I'm doing. I've done that with that transmitter. I have another carcass coming. It took 2 weeks after I ordered the thing. He notified me yesterday or last night that it's coming, and that unit was supposed to be here before these. And it's just amazing that nobody's going to the post office anymore unless they have to, and everything's off kilter. The places that ship the stuff to you are in the middle of the Christmas rush, so I had 4 days where I had absolutely nothing to work on, and that's why I'm going to take this a little slower. See, I have a habit of buying stuff and saying I'm going to go slow, and then I hit it, and I've hit this pretty hard. I mean, I've taken pieces out of the different radios and getting ready and deciding what I'm going to keep, what I'm going to throw away. And these units probably should have been thrown out, okay? But you get donations. Whenever you set up a group like ham radio operators, people bring you the junk. And I'll tell you, they build it up, and then they give it to you, and you're looking at this thing. And I told you the story of one of my mother's friends. They would go to the Englishtown auction, and they buy boxes of stuff. So this guy brings a mildewy, stinky box to my mother, and he wants me to look at the stuff. And it was a bunch of remote control airplane stuff, tube. In good shape, that stuff would be worth money, a collectible, but it wasn't. And I'm looking at them like I got 3 transmitters, some, in those days they called them actuators. They didn't really actually call them servos. But I'm looking at this, I said, what does he want me to do with this? I said, there's no receivers in here. I'm like, and I knew what the stuff was because I had bought an old book on remote control, and I had built the remote control unit, transmitter and receiver from scratch. I called the guy up, oh, I got that box for $5. I thought maybe you could do something with it. And I don't know if I threw it out or I gave it back to him. And then one time he gave me a really nice real tape recorder, but it had gone down a flight of stairs. And I had it apart. I couldn't figure out why the motor kept binding. And it had a pretty long shaft on the motor, and I realized it was bent. And I called him back. I was like, oh, yeah, guy gave it to me. He dropped it down the stairs, and he gave it to me. He says, here, take that to your friend. See, that's how it worked. They never gave me anything really incredible. One time, I had a guy I was working with on a house, and he gave me a stereo system, like a Macintosh. And I took it home, and oh, he gave me a TV too. The TV set needed a horizontal output tube. When he realized it was closing in from the sides, he didn't turn it on anymore, and that caused only the tube to be bad. It didn't cause other problems. So I put the tube in, I ran it for a few hours. I took that back, and the Macintosh, a pre-driver for output, opened up, and I found that. And the guy gave me, like, for just helping him out, he paid for the tube, and he gave me $80. He says, you shouldn't be working for free. And I said to him, yeah. I said, I'm going to stop doing that. I was gearing down, telling people no, throw it out. And I had this one woman in the neighborhood called me up, and she really liked to insult me indirectly. And she called me up, and she says, I need you to come over and fix my TV set. I said, I can repair TV sets. She says, oh, isn't that what you do? I was like, man, I was working aerospace, F-14 stuff, and cockpit instruments, and yeah, isn't that what you do? She's still alive too. I do check to see if she's dead. She's one of the last people that I don't like, that I'm hoping dies soon and I outlive her. But yeah, there's some real harsh stuff that I have in my head. But yeah, if you want to get in one of these, don't forget, you're going to need a power supply. Watch my other videos. Those guys that do videos on these things, the one, he just took it apart, and he realized you don't have a power supply. That's a whole other game. So that's why I did the video on the power supply, explaining you what's inside of it, how it's wired. And the other guys, here's my power supply. They don't tell you nothing. I tell you, like I said, I showed this 2 years ago. This is my cap checker. It was Popular Electronics. And somebody saw my video, and they went and looked it up, and then they drew the schematic in their own handwriting. And I worked with a guy that did that. He would ask me for schematics for things that I built, and then he would redraw it in his handwriting and then give them out to everybody. He was strange. I've been through a lot in my lifetime, and it ain't over yet. You know, it's funny stuff. And you watch the COVID, you know, people that believe it's a hoax, the people that think it's political. Meanwhile, you know, and I got people that are, that I know in different stores, and they work with the public, and they're not wearing their mask anymore, and they never got their shots, and it's coming back here again. The kids back to school, it's coming right back. The lowest point here, we were down to 5 people in all of Lancaster that had it. In the 4th of July, everybody got together and started spreading it around. And people are like, well, not that many people are dying. I'm going to tell you straight out, I'm a nonpartisan person. When there's a lot of people sick with it, it ties up the hospitals. So if you go in there, you're not going to get the service you need for what you have wrong, because they're overtaxed with COVID. Okay? And you'll only think about this when it's your turn. Okay? And I have people here that pulled that crap. It's a hoax, right? And then all of a sudden they needed the hospital. And they were put on, not holds, but they were put in a line, and they didn't like that. And that's because there's people that shouldn't be sick that are getting sick. And out here in the old age homes, it's bad again. Anytime you're in a closed area like an old age home, a car for so many hours with someone that has it, or a bus, or a church, okay? It doesn't get you within the first 10 minutes. It's not like the flu. You walk next to someone for a couple minutes and you got it. you touch something they touch. No, this thing works on your body, and it gets past your immune system. Then you have it. It's a little different. It's almost like a biological warfare thing. So you really have a hard time tracing it where it comes from. It's sneaky. I don't trust anybody anymore. But I think that's it. All right, that's it.